Hi, I'm actor Ian Champion, and welcome to History of Horror Cinema, my podcast series devoted to the good, bad, and the ugly of horror movie history. Please don't forget to like what you hear and hit subscribe. I have such sights to show you. The Mummy's Hand, 1940. As part of Universal Studios' second wave of horror film resurgence during World War II, all of their franchises were taken down, dusted off, and reactivated. 8 years after its inception, The Mummy was prized out of its sarcophagus and sent out in fresh bandages to terrorize audiences in The Mummy's Hand in 1940. A creditable job was made of it, retaining the key elements of the original's exotic chills and the co-opting of a fascinating, mysterious mythology. The chosen director was Christy Caban, a hired gun who could shoot fast, as it were. Like William One-Take Bodine, he was extremely prolific and would work with whomever he was assigned in any genre. Both men would also direct Bela Lugosi, Caban on 1947's Scared to Death. Ever mindful of the bottom line, Universal would value his speedy delivery of their latest revival, scripted by Griffin Jay and Maxwell Shane. The cast for The Mummy's Hand is one of its chief strengths. We open by establishing the backstory of the villain in the capable form of George Zucco. He had a very profitable wartime film career, especially in horror, starting out with the 1939 remakes of The Cat and the Canary and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Here he is the steely-eyed Andoheb, pledged to defend the resting place of Princess Ananka within Egypt's Temple of Karnak, but not before its high priest, Edoardo Cianelli, recounts to him the story of the more powerful protector he must facilitate. Caris was the princess's forbidden lover, who was buried alive for attempting to resurrect her from death. His character is essentially Boris Karloff's Imhotep from The Mummy, with the added detail that the vital revivifying Tana leaves he tried to use were buried with him. Footage from The Mummy was intercut with new sequences here. I suspect I'm not alone in always finding these ancient flashback scenes gave frissons of guilty pleasure somehow, with their grisly ceremony of cutting out the victim's tongue to spare the gods his unholy curses and the slaying of the slaves who witnessed the events. Before he dies, the high priest describes the crucial ritual of administering 3 brewed Tana leaves to Caris to keep him alive, increasing to 9 if the temple is in danger of defilement by the unworthy, releasing, and I quote, an uncontrollable demon who will kill and kill. Andoheb accepts his duty with chilling resolve, and after a nice nod to 1931's Dracula, referring to the wolves as children of the night, the high priest passes the mantle to him and checks out. The leading man up next is Dick Foran in the first of 2 successive sequels, like Zucco as archaeologist Steve Banning, although strictly speaking the term sequel is misleading as this film effectively begins the franchise anew. Foran parlays his relaxed 6'2" frame from cowboy pictures well into a modern-day horror action man, beginning the tale as a fired archaeologist formerly with the Museum of Manhattan. He is accompanied by his rough diamond sidekick Babe, played with colorful swagger by Wallace Ford, whom we last saw in Freaks. Steve buys a damaged pot, whose hieroglyphics indicate the location of the fabled Temple of Karnak. For veracity, he is led by the esteemed Dr. Petrie, Charles Trowbridge, to none other than Zucco again, now known as Professor Andoheb, who dismisses the jar and visitors with precise menace. Steve is unfazed at this and is determined to somehow finance an expedition based on the evidence. Fortunately, the god of finance smiles on Banning, crossing his path with touring magician the great Solvani. This is a fitting superlative for marvelous Cecil Kellaway, last seen in plump avuncular form in 1940's other Universal icon reactivator, The Invisible Man Returns, as well as The House of Green Gables, both of which I'll be covering. He offers to fund the expedition, much to the chagrin of his smarter daughter Marta, played by the lovely Peggy Moran, who is warned by Andoheb that Steve and Babe are imposters. The trip goes ahead, and sure enough the team find the Hill of the 7 Jackals, wherein lies no sign of the princess's tomb, but instead the sarcophagus of Caris. Although we know his origin, the expeditioners do not, but soon will to their trespassing cost. Once again, Andoheb appears like a dark-eyed brooding raven and brings a chill wind of foreboding as he invites Dr. Petrie to feel Kharis' hand. The doctor is astounded by the lifelike pulse, like living tissue. 9 leaves of Tana tea later, and he's feeling that supernatural heat fatally around his neck. Andoheb exults at Kharis' restoration with stone-cold fervor. Not one of you who try to enter the tomb of Ananka will leave this valley alive. The mummy himself is an excellent reworking of Karloff's creation, inhabited by Tom Tyler, former amateur weightlifting champion and future 1941 series Captain Marvel, who was cast for a similar enough likeness to his predecessor. Universal's resident makeup master Jack Pierce swathes him in a convincing bandaged form that accentuates his sharp facial features. The face is rendered more unsettling still by post-production blotting out of his eyes into totally black pools, a simple yet disturbing effect, although misapplied in wide shots. He moves with an awkward, inexorable shuffle, crippled in his left leg and right arm. A plot structural weakness is that we have to wait too long to see him, the third act in fact. However, Kharis makes his presence felt by murdering Ali, the team's guide, and carrying off Marta. The climactic face-off pitching Tomb Raider against Protector takes place in the money shot of the production, the Temple of Karnak that houses Princess Ananka's tomb. It is a striking set by art director Jack Otterson and set director Russell A. Gaussman, with a fine centerpiece of the aforementioned multi-headed jackal fronted by a stone altar. There, Andoheb aims to inject Marta with the Tana serum so the two of them will forever serve as guardians. You're beautiful, so beautiful. I'm going to make you immortal. This job opportunity is rejected on her behalf by Babe shooting Andoheb, who appears to expire outside at the bottom of the temple steps. "Mighty Isis, forgive me," he gasps. Meanwhile, Steve grapples manfully with Kharis and manages to stop him drinking a world-dominating dose of Tana fluid by immolating him in the flames of the burner. The epilogue describes Princess Ananka's stolen jewels being shipped to the Museum of Manhattan. This suggests grounds for retribution, though 1942's direct sequel, The Mummy's Tomb, which we'll come to next, would ignore these ransacked grounds and fashion a follow-up set decades later, reuniting some of the cast and boosting the lineup with Lon Chaney Jr. The franchise was now off and shambling for at least the near future. Thanks for listening. And if you like what you've just heard, don't forget to click so. And please hit subscribe. If you build it, they will come.